So in the last video I gave you a program in which you had to print this specific pattern A B A B C D E F G until Z. So let's actually try how to do that. So first we know that CHR, if we have put the Unicode value 65, that's equal to A, and so on for 66 B C, and it goes till Z. So what we could do is, you could say that n is equal to 65, right? N is equal to 65 we could say, and we could say x is equal to int input till how many times, we could say. So that would be some integer. So is that, and what we can do is we can say, we can go through a for loop and doing for I in the range of, well, x, that's how many times we do it. And what we do in this is that we print the character based on the number given, so that's n. We know that it's 65 in the start, and after doing this we increase the value of n, so n plus equals 1. So let's try this out. So let's say I want to do this 5 times, and it does A B C D. Now we fixed that problem, but at the same time we also wanted to do AB, ABC, ABCD. So a small change we can do is, first of all we can hold the pattern inside a variable. So in the starting it has nothing, isn't it? That's just an empty string. And instead what we do is, we say we add on the character, okay, based on the n value. So we add on the character to the pattern, the string, pattern string. So after adding that we print the pattern itself. So we print the pattern. It's important to know we are adding two strings. We are adding the empty pattern string at the start, and we are adding the character, which could be A, B, C, D and such. So let's see what happens. Let's do that 5 times, and it just creates the pattern. It is basically, we are basically printing the pattern, but as we go through the loop we add A to the pattern, we add B to the pattern, C to the pattern, and so it keeps going on. We can actually print it till Z. So Z would be, there are 26 letters, so I guess 26 should be the answer, and yes, A B C D till Z. So if you do more than 26, so let's do 30 instead, we would get some other random characters which have their ordinal values as such. So that was that. This is how you do the program. So let's continue on. So today we will be learning some probably the most famous and most widely used function, or you could say the function of strings, and that is string slices. So let's do that. String slices, now you can already guess what we might be doing. We are going to be slicing through a string, going through parts of it basically. So let's try that. Let's say I have the string A B C D E F G, and now the way to slice is it, you remember the square bracket which we use for index. Now we're going to be using that, but we're going to be slicing it with using the indexes. So let's say I start from 0 and I stop at the index 5. So this is kind of a slicing thing. So we use that colon to indicate that we wanted to, so there are actually 3 different values you could use actually. So there's another colon, there's actually this is the start value, this is the stop value, the 5 is the stop value, and there's another value called the step value which I put 2 here. So let me ignore the step value for now. Let's just see what's the 0 and 5. Let's see what happens when I'm doing this. Instead of just going through this one index, we're actually going to go through a range of indexes. Now let's see. So it prints A B C D E till E, it doesn't print F and G. Interesting. So what happened here is, what is the index of 0 in the string? That's A. Index of 5 is, well, let's see, 0 1 2 3 4 5, so that's F. So what is happening is, the range is from A to F, right? but we print ABCD, so we are ignoring the last element, the last character F, and we are ignoring that and we are just printing till that. So that's what happening here. So let's try another one. Let's copy the same thing, but let's do from, let's do from the third element, which has the index of 2, to the seventh element, I guess. No, although I don't think there is a seventh element actually. If we do, let me see it. It didn't give an error actually, because if we do something even crazy, let's say I do 100, that doesn't exist. The 100th element or the 101th element doesn't exist in our string, but doesn't give an error. Instead, it just assumes that you want to start from index 2. So let's see, 0 1 2, that's C, and it assumes that you just want to keep going till G, and even though there is no other element after G, it just stops there. It just considers that you wanted to go from C and then you wanted to end till the last, so it doesn't give an error in such a case. Now there is an easier way to do this same thing. We could have simply done 2 and keep this colon here and stop and just do that. That's it, just the colon, and then there's nothing here, and close the square bracket. That would render the same thing, because by default, if we don't put anything in the stop value, the final value, by default it will consider that you want to go to the end. So that's how it would slice. And interestingly, if we didn't put anything for the start value of our slicing, we put the stop value. Let's say I put the stop value is, I don't know, 4. Interestingly, it assumes that you want to start from the very first element, so A, and it stops at, let's see, the fourth element, I guess. 1 2 3 4. Yes, it stops till D. You can see A B C D. That's slicing. You could even slice, let's say we wanted CDE, so let's try how to do that. Let's say I wanted to find CD, print the string CD. Let's see. So C is the third element, so it has an index of 2, 0 1 2, and then 3 4. So that would be till E 4, but we know that index 4 won't be included, so to do 5, let me check that again. 0 1 2 3 4. It has an index of 4, so let's check, and yes, it does do CDE, print CDE. Now you can even use the negative indexes here, those would also apply. So let's try -1 to nothing. Let's see what that happens. That is actually going to be interesting. And it just prints G. So what happened here, -1 is at G, because that's going from backwards 1, and it stops to the end. So it went to G and then it stopped at G, because that's the last element, so it just printed G. We could have also done, let's say, from -1 to let's say we wanted to stop at the second element, so that's index of 1. Let's see what, but that doesn't do anything. So that's the reason is that by default the string slicing is going to assume that you want to move from left to right. You want to do the slicing from left to right, so you want to do it from G to the right. But because there's nothing from G to the right, it just prints nothing. If we would have instead, so this actually, there is no range possible, you could say. Instead of this, we could have done, let's say, -1 to the end. Let's see how many elements are there. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, so 7 elements, so till the sixth index. That would also do nothing, because we aren't, what is the in having index 6? Let's see, a 0 1 2 3 4 5 6, that's G. So index 6 is at G, but we know that the last stops value is not included, so G won't be printed at all. Instead we'll have to put 7 here, and that would print our G. Now I told you that by default the slicing works from left to right. So how can we go backwards? Say you wanted to do from right to left. So what we could do is, now what comes into play is, let's see, so let's do it. I'll move from the start to the, so I'm just going to do nothing. So if we did nothing, just this, well, it would just print everything. But I did tell you that there is another thing called the step value which comes at the last. We could be by default I'll let you know it's 1, but we can change it to 2, 3, -1, -2, or anything. Now the step value is like steps. You could imagine them as steps. So when you're climbing steps, how fast do you climb? So do you climb the steps one by one? Do you iterate through the sequence or the sequence of strings one by one, or do you climb 2 steps at a time? So you're skipping one of the steps in between. Do that. So actually, let's try that. Let's say you go from the start to the end. So that's why I came blank spaces here, and you go to, you have a step value of 2. Let's see what happens. And we get A, C, E, G. As you can see, we started at A, we skipped B, we went to C, we skipped D, we went to E, we skipped F, we went to G. So basically that's like climbing. When you're climbing steps, but you're climbing, let's say you're climbing 2 steps a time, so you're climbing every second step. That means that you're skipping a step when you're climbing the stairs. So that's why you can see we are skipping, we are going through alternate elements. You could even done, let's see, let's say, let's do actually something interesting. Let's do 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So let's do 1 2 till 9, and let's change it to, I don't know, 3. Let's see what happens. So GAD gives us 147. In fact, let me do something else. Let's see, if we do 2, we get 1 3 5 7 9. So it's skipping, I guess it's skipping the even numbers. You could say it like that. The even numbers have been skipped off. We only have odd numbers now. So that's another thing. Now you could even have negative steps. In real life you might imagine that as going backwards on steps, although I don't recommend you doing that. Going backwards in steps, climbing steps backwards can be very dangerous, but let's do it in Python. So backwards would mean negative, so let's try -1. So we're going from start to the end, but the step is negative. Let's see what happens. And as you can see, it has basically printed the string, reverse version of the string. So basically we have a reverse version of the same string. We went from the start, we went to the end, but we went backwards. Basically you could think of it as we started from D and we went to A, something like that. And you can also do something rather interesting. You could have done -2, and you just get the reverse of what we had done before in the 1 3 5 7 9. Now you have 9 7 5 3 1. It's just reversed. So that was string slicing. Hope you found it useful and interesting. In the next video we will do some example sums with this string slicing.